again in this open space in English. We're gonna talk about everything that was going on during the week to share with everyone there at home. And my name is Fernando, and I'm here with my partner Katy from Germany.
Herzlich willkommen zur wöchentlichen Integration.
Welcome, everyone. So as I said before, the idea is to share a bit about everything that was going on during the week. And now we were talking with Katy a bit what to share, where to start from. I was thinking about this superorganism, as you said before. That was one of the topics that we developed. The idea was to introduce the concept of superorganism and to compare with the idea of organization or group. And it's basically what we are doing here in this organization, in this community, living all together in these almost 2 months of lockdown. And we were experiencing these concepts, let's say. But before going into this topic, I would like maybe, Katy, if you want to share a bit about your experience in this community. When did you arrive and why you came, so people can get to know a bit about you?
Yeah. So I think I'm almost 2 weeks here. I think this is day 12 that I'm here. And it has been a challenge for me. So the first days it was, I was challenged by some thoughts that I was having. Exactly what we are also going to talk about later, because it was the topic of our session with Alberto yesterday. So I was having this challenge I was having some judgmental thoughts about what was going on here and about the people and about myself. And so this made me feel a bit excluded from everything. But I feel like the longer I am here, the more I'm being included. And now I'm also, so the first days it was really tiring for me to be around so many people, to be in the working in the big room, and there was so much noise all the time, and sitting in front of the computer the whole day. So I felt very tired very early, and I went to bed very early, and I felt like there was no real time to connect to the people. And now, just in the last days, it's like a window has been opening a little bit, and I'm starting to have some connections with the people, to have some conversations in the evenings. And yeah, I really enjoy that. I feel more included and more at home also.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, and connecting with this concept of superorganism, we were also sharing about this idea of a person, an individual, separated, isolated, or being part of this bigger, let's say, body in a way. So now that you're mentioning this, being in the middle, for example, of a room with a lot of people working, it comes to me this idea of being separated from everyone. And I think it's in my experience is the process that I am also having in every community here in Madrid, or when I was also living in Ireland or any other epicenter we have, that you can feel this illusion of separation, like you are you are someone different from me, or start experiencing this idea. No, it's not an idea. Experiencing this sensation that we are synchronized,
Mm.
and then and it start happening that also maybe I'm thinking something, and suddenly you said something related to that
Mhm.
thought. So going slowly into this topic of the thinking or the thoughts, and that's something very interesting to experience in this environment, and how everything starts working synchronized. For example, like now, we before starting the program, this broadcast, everything starts to fall into its place
Mhm.
to work. So
Seems like I got up just the perfect moment because I was like, I think today is Sunday. Maybe I sleep in today, you know. And then I was like, no, I get up.
yeah.
Everyone is awake. Like there's no one sleeping in this room anymore. I'm getting up. And then 5 minutes later, you came. Are you gonna come to the broadcast with me?
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay.
That's something very very interesting. How here everything like that works in a synchronized. I don't know if the word in English is synchronized, right?
Synchronized. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a challenge because I have this idea of how to say. I'm thinking about the words in English. It's this controlling part that think or thinks um, that I need to do something. Me as an individual, and if I don't do something, it's not going to work.
Mm.
It's like it depends on me. Um, and I'm getting confronted with the idea when I just relax and let it be, let it flow. This is something that I'm going through in this experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something in relation to that
Uh-huh.
also happened to me. Like there was one day a few days ago. I went to bed early
Uh-huh.
at like 10:30 or something,
Uh-huh.
and suddenly I woke up and I heard how people were saying, "Oh, Kati, she's already sleeping," and I don't know, and I was like, it was like a moment of a little shock for me, and I was like, "Oh fuck, should I do something different? Am I missing the whole experience because I'm sleeping so early and now I have to always maybe I have to do something different so I don't exclude myself or I don't miss everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's my own fault because I'm doing something wrong or something." And so there was like a little moment of shock, like little shock, like
Mm-hmm.
not big, but it was like, okay, and if I should do something different. But the next day I was so tired again, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna go to sleep. But then it somehow naturally happened. I got an invitation in the evening from Herrn to his place,
Mm-hmm.
and then I thought about it later, and then I just went there, and we had beautiful conversation, and there it all started.
Mm.
Yeah, without me having to do anything. Yeah.
Now that you're saying that, is we can go into the topic of thoughts,
Yes.
because it was one of the topics also that we were developing, and it's really connected with superorganisms in the way that now you were saying, people are not sleeping or something like this. You said so, or I went to bed earlier, la 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 la. So all these thoughts, these ideas about something, or we said before, this idea of that I need to do something manifests through different actions. So what I think somehow is what then I manifest in a way. I'm just trying to go through there.
Because he said yesterday that
Uh-huh.
the nature of a thought is that it wants to manifest itself. It wants to become truth in some way.
Yeah. So it's like, what is the thought? That will be the question. What is the thought? We were saying yesterday that a thought is something that defined or classified. It's an idea. And Alberto was somehow saying that a thought, the way he was talking about the thoughts, he was saying they live, they, da da da, in this, like giving the meaning of living entities. You know what I mean? Um, it was not saying that it's my thought that it's like when I think about something, I have an idea, but at a certain moment, they live by themselves. And he was not saying this, but the way he was expressing it was saying, and they want to continue living, for example, or they don't want to disappear. It's like they have life by itself. It's like a virus. You know what I mean? And yesterday he was talking about the structure of thoughts. So basically he was sharing characteristics of this concept. And I would like to share with the people that are watching us. Do you have any comment? Okay. So Ciro, that is here with us, he would like to share something.
Yeah, this morning I was like listening to a podcast talking about ego, and yes, and this morning I was listening to a podcast talking about ego, and the person that was talking about it expressed that when you talk about ego, that the ego has the same entity or the same substance that than the than an inch or like a minute or like measurements, that it doesn't really exist only in the part of us that we think about it, but it doesn't really exist in the like in the essential world. It doesn't really exist in matter or yeah, like when we are like trapped in trying to go out the ego, we are trying to get out of an idea that we think that we have to transcend it with all the pressure to going out of that. And it was really interesting because normally many years ago I don't think about ego like that. That I think about ego like uh, something really real, really that that is connected reality. If you think about it, it's like you are trying to go out of a concept and you're trying to transcend ego. Not really. So you can do that. It's like to say, yeah, it's the same to say how you can transcend an inch or a minute or an hour. It, you can transcend that because it's just concepts. So yeah, that came to me.
Thank you. The definition that Alberto gave was that a thought is an idea that doesn't define who we are, but the thought gives us a clue with which we are identified. This is something that I want to share. I will repeat, so then we can give some examples like this that you said, no, I went to bed early, la la la, all these ideas. And I'm going to share something else. So I will repeat the idea. It's like thoughts or a thought doesn't define who I am, but gives me a clue with what I am identified. And what comes to me is to observe the beliefs that I have about myself or about everything actually. And if I can observe what I think about a glass, about you, about myself, everything is giving me the clue not to define something and to have a fixed idea about something, but to know with what I am identified, what is that, as he said, that I'm perpetuating or maintaining. And that's the first step to go through a process of transformation or inner evolution. And based on this idea that a thought is something that gives me the clue, we were doing a dynamic yesterday and the day before yesterday, I think it was, here with Alberto Varela. The dynamic was a game. Actually, we were playing a game in this community in Madrid, and it consists in, for example, choosing one person of these 35 people living in this community, and let's say it's Katy today, and we have a bucket, and it's so funny because it's the same bucket that we used to puke during ayahuasca session, and it's so symbolic because in that bucket we write the name of, let's say in this case, Katy. Is Katy? Or Katie? Katy. And each one of us, the members of this community, comes and write every thought that in this case I have about her. So I write all the ideas, all the thoughts, and I put the paper inside of this bucket. And then during the session, during the broadcast, in the afternoon, in this case, Katy comes in front, in the sofa, and we read every paper, every thought, let's say. And the game has 3 different steps or stages. The first stage is to read the papers, all of them. The second stage is that the person that is in front, the second stage is that the audience, let's say, share what they observed from, in this case, Katy that is in front in the sofa, to see if she was changing, let's say, the gestures, the face, the reactions that she had during listening to all these thoughts. And the third stage or phase is that in this case, Katy shares how she feels. And that was very, very interesting First, as I said before, because in this bucket we have all the thoughts of, in this case, about Kathy, which is like shit in a way, you know, it's these ideas that if we don't observe, they are controlling our lives. They are, um,
They are kind of standing like a wall in between the two people.
yeah,
And with not expressing them, they actually get stronger and take on more power.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So the idea is to report, let's say, all these thoughts, to expose them, but it's not just to expose them. It's the person that is here in front. It's going really through a confrontation, and not only that person, but also all of us. Because, for example, let's say for me, if if I'm sincere, that could be something really hard to express, maybe a bad idea about you. And the detail is that when you write the paper, when you write the thoughts, it's anonymous at the beginning. So let's say that was funny, because yeah, then you can write whatever you want. You know, You put the paper in the bucket, and at the last part of the dynamic is that if you feel like, if you want to take responsibility of that thought that came from you, that you put your signature. I mean, you pick up again your paper that you wrote, you put your signature, like your name, and you give it to the person. And in a way, it's to say, okay, I take responsibility of this thought. I can observe that. And in a way, that psychomagic act gives you the opportunity to, how do you say in English, to take the power out of this thought in order not to control your life anymore. Would you like to maybe share something about how did you feel about this experience?
I found it to be a very beautiful exercise.
Uh-huh.
I would love to be in the front also and to receive all the thoughts of the people. I would be so interested in what everyone is thinking about me, about a sincere opinion, because we get so rarely, it really happens that someone shares with you their sincere opinion. I mean, here maybe more, but still, many times we just hide it automatically away. I really found it interesting also how the different persons received it differently.
Yeah, I would like to share something about that. If you also can. Here was already Leila, Christian Alcalá. Yesterday was Amelise, Alberto's daughter. And then also, can you help me with the names?
Christian Khativa,
Christian Khativa, Anthony. So some of the members of the group. And this is true what she said, what Katy said, that the reactions were totally different. And also the thoughts were different. Ah. Yeah. Okay. So we will continue later with this topic, but we want to take advantage of Iris, who is in Germany, right? At this moment, she will explain where she is. We are in a retreat. She's running a retreat, and we wanted to share a bit with you. How is it to run a retreat and what's going on? So welcome, Iris. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, Iris.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Katy. Hi, Fernando. Thank you for having me.
Would you like to share a bit
Mm,
what you're doing? You have your. Feel free to continue, please.
um, yes, so I'm in Hamburg, and we had a small retreat in the house of one of our collaborators, Amma. We are with 7 people, and I hear myself in the background. It's quite weird because it's kind of how to say, it's a bit confusing, but I'm gonna, get over it. We got here together wondering whether it's possible or not because of coronavirus, because some people are still more in the protective mode. When I came to Hamburg, it was the first day that actually in this city, the first city in Germany, they opened the restrictions. So the shops have opened again. You can enter with a mask, but you can enter. The cafes are open, and it's just really, it's almost like as if nothing ever happened, and suddenly everybody comes back on the streets. Like so many people on the streets, and it's such a different vibe compared to the last weeks, because whenever I left the house in Madrid, there was this huge, like, this presence of fear. Like, people were looking at you like, oh my god, maybe you have the virus. And here somehow, and I don't really know, it's you could say coincidence, or like perfectly fitting together that we chose to do the retreat in Hamburg this weekend, without knowing that the day of the retreat, the day the retreat started, they would open the shops again. It's like super fitting super beautifully together. Um, and so that was the first thing that I found really amazing, to be here in Hamburg, to see how suddenly everything opened. It's like a new beginning. It's really beautiful. And we're now here in the retreat. It's the last day. And this moment, there's a few people doing a Bufo session upstairs. Because yesterday we talked about trust again, about how some of the participants had still not really connected to trusting themselves, trusting life. And we talked about Bufo Alvarez again, and how it could support you sometimes to make that step into the unknown, to let go of control. And so they said, okay, I want to do it tomorrow. So we're waiting now with the rest of the participants to do the integration. The integration is for me the most important part of the retreat, and I'm really happy that everybody's still here to share about what happened yesterday night with ayahuasca. We shared ayahuasca with everybody, and we've been talking. We've been already sharing a little bit now in breakfast, and every time I connect more and more to the importance of having this integration talk. Like we're doing now, the weekly integration of the week, and we need this integration of the sessions with Alberto, and we need even more with the session with ayahuasca or any other substance for that reason. One participant came, and she came just yesterday for the first night. And she told me that she had done a retreat with another organization where basically they gave ayahuasca, and then at 5 a.m. she, took her bike and she went home, and she was super confused and didn't have anyone to talk about the experience. And so it's super important, but I see more how important it is that anyone who takes any entheogenous substance like this, to please have somebody to talk to, because it's apparently still even offered by organizations that they do a retreat like this without the integration, but it can really support you comprehending what's moving, basically. And now I don't hear myself anymore. I don't hear Fernando. I don't hear Kati. I don't know if you're talking, if you still hear me.
Here, we're listening
But yeah,
carefully.
beautiful. And one of the topics that came up for us here, it's interestingly very connected to what we've been talking in the last weeks with Alberto on air. The way we see men and women. The retreat was almost only women, and there was one man, and we talked a lot about how we see ourselves, how we see the other women, and how this can support us in seeing ourselves better, and how we are using a filter many times when we're looking at the other with the expectation of the past. Basically, we talked a lot about that, how with the past we're creating our future. And I remember we talked about that also last time, Fernando, when we were together in the session, I think, how the relationships are based on how we use our expectation. We use the past to create an expectation for the present and for the future. That was one of the things we talked a lot about.
We were also, now in case you didn't listen, we were talking about thoughts and ideas that we can have about ourselves or about others, and we were sharing also this with Alberto yesterday and the day before yesterday, and it's connected because you were saying now the ideas that I have about a man or a woman or a relationship, and how those thoughts control and dominate our lives if we are attached to those thoughts. And yesterday, Alberto was introducing 3 different concepts. Those were disintegration, reintegration, and integration. And I just wanted to share it with you before you go to integration in the retreat. Basically, what he was saying is when someone comes to our retreats, we come with an idea about, for example, about ourselves. And the first thing we do before going into the session, and with any medicine or conscious school with the word, entheogenic word, what we do is the preparation. You know what? It's like the preparation, but actually it's the preparation, which is to somehow observe that idea or that thought that we have about our life. It's like a confrontation. And the first question that we do or we make is, what's the reason or the main reason that brought you here? So we start putting on the table this idea. That's the disintegration, let's say. Then Alberto was saying that during the night or during this ayahuasca session or entheogenic work session in conscious school, we have the reintegration, which is when a gap opens and something starts to enter. Let's say something new, something that you don't expect, a comprehension, for example. And the day after the session, what we have is the integration, which is, he said, the romance or the romance between the human experience and the divine experience, which is which is somehow putting everything not together, not the idea of creating a new a new idea, but to to in,
To see like how can I bring this to my physical, to my life.
yeah, how to take it into your daily life, but also to be open to changes, that nothing is fixed. That, you know what I mean? It's like, so integration would be also not just to, let's say, to keep that new idea or that new comprehension, but to have this gap open. So every time new things can come inside and go outside and transform, what we call inner evolution. Would you like to share something, Iris, out of this?
For me, this is the perfect representation of what I experienced in this retreat. The way we're the way we going to the experience with everything that we believe about ourselves. No, sorry. And how everything we believe about ourselves is challenged. And well, we can support to challenge it in the preparation, and then it's even more challenged by the confrontation in the session with the substance, with ayahuasca. We also did iboga in this retreat, and what came to me while you shared about this was something that happened in this retreat concerning the necessity to stick to a belief that you came with. And we had a group of girls coming here to the retreat that came as a group of 3. They came with their friends. And many people come to retreat with their friends because they feel more secure, they feel more safe. And what we observed in the last couple of days is that when you come with somebody you know very well and you connect to something new, it's much more difficult to really go into that new thing because the person you know so well is next to you and has a certain expectation about you, has a certain idea about you, a certain belief that a part of you needs to fulfill to be able to stay their friend. And so and now I'm not sure that would actually, maybe this doesn't impact the disintegration, because you still go to the depth of yourself in the session with the medicine, but the reintegration, or at least the integration, becomes more complicated. That's what we saw, because the belief about yourself that you came with is present in the presence of your friends. And that is something that I wanted to mention. If anyone watches this and is thinking about coming to a retreat, to take the courage, and if it's possible, come alone, to be really free in going down that path by yourself and going down this road and allow yourself to be completely new. And then, you can deal with the integration in real life when you go home. But at least for the couple of days, allow yourself to be somebody completely new.
Now, I'm connecting this with something we were sharing in the open space in Italian. I think that was last Tuesday with Michela, Lorenzo, Claudia, and Elisa. They were talking about migration. They were talking about changing countries. Let's say moving from Italy to Spain. And basically what Michela was sharing was the changing this environment, changing the place, the friends, the language, from Italian to Spanish, changing everything around her, allowed her to start experiencing something new. let's say, different ideas about herself, basically. And I think it's really connected with this disintegration, reintegration, and integration, in the sense, and actually because she was saying that when she went back to Italy, or when she was talking with her friends, she realized that her friends were still having this old idea about her. And that was so interesting now that we're talking about thoughts and ideas, because these ideas are trying to maintain something without changing. And we can get attached to that idea. And Alberto was saying, let's say that today I say something, I express an idea about, for example, about myself. So let's say I, whatever, I think something, blah. I am Argentinian, let's say. And tomorrow I come and I say, I am Italian. And this second idea can be totally the contrary from the first idea. And what we think or we experience is, I am going against myself. And actually, that's not the point. I mean, the idea is going against itself, because the idea wants to maintain and to keep and to live forever. And I'm not going against myself. Somehow I'm going against the idea, and I'm going in favor of myself, because myself is changing all the time. So somehow I wanted to, express this between Michela's ideas, what you were saying about these friends going to a retreat, and life, which is, if we really, really observe, ideas are changing all the time because we are changing all the time. And if we can really integrate this, we allow life to manifest through us.
Yeah, totally. Beautiful. What comes to me is how something else I observed in some people that were on the retreat here, when I saw what I feel like could be one of the main differences between what we do compared to the, let's say, mainstream spirituality. And I know I'm saying something dangerous here. Basically, I realized that some people were saying a lot like, I need to be true to who I am. And this is oftentimes, well, another way to say, I need to be true to my ego structure. I need to be true to the idea that I have about myself. And from how I see what we do is that we're basically saying, go against yourself. Something that is exactly opposite of what you believe you should be doing. And when I say believe, it would be something that comes from the mind. And that is for me the most challenging thing for somebody who starts this path, because in the beginning it's very difficult to differentiate when something that you feel like you should be doing is coming from the mind and from the thoughts, and when it is something true from your essence, from your soul. And for me, there sometimes, well, it's more difficult to some people that are already in this path of spirituality to connect to what we do, because they want to be true to their self. Well, the self is something that we would see as another ego structure or another idea in the way that they perceive that self. I'm not sure if I explain myself.
Maybe
Okay, cool. Giovanni here is saying that probably we can also share with Rebecca from Ireland. So it's gonna be Spain. Ah, she's in Paris. So Rebecca in Paris,
Oh,
Iris in Germany, and we are here in Spain. That's great. Yeah, about what you were saying, Iris. Um, if we have another idea of the self, it's the same thing because it's I have an idea about an image about me, an image about a self, a spiritual self. It's kind of the same thing, basically. This is what you were expressing, right?
yes. It comes back to what we talked with Alberto the other day, that we need to have another vocabulary to talk about the self and the I, because what words we have are not sufficient to describe what what is the self and what is the I when I talk about it. No, like for me, it's complicated to say I am going inside. Who's going inside? Where am I going? Like what is the self? Where's the essence? And I feel like I feel like I miss words, and maybe these words are not necessary either. Like
Now we have here also Rebecca. Welcome, Rebecca from Paris.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, just about coping with this, trying to travel. Yeah,
Okay. Would you like to
tough,
share a
but
bit
it's great to see all of you.
from where you're traveling to where you're traveling?
Well, I was hoping to go from Madrid to Dublin, but basically the connecting flight left without us. We got delayed, so we got stuck in the airport, and we couldn't even go to leave the gate. So we slept on the floor at the airport here in Paris, and the next flight is on Wednesday. So it looked like I live in the airport at the moment in Paris. So yes, very interesting. And I'm supposed to keep this mask on all the
Okay.
time.
Would you like to share a bit
But
about how is there in the? I mean, Iris, for example, was sharing a bit about this running a retreat now in Germany, and how is reality, let's say somehow. And would you like to share a bit now about that experience?
sorry, can you just repeat what Iris was saying about
Yeah,
what
Iris
she was sharing
was
about?
sharing how it is now to run a retreat in Germany. He was sharing, yeah, about during the lockdown, you know. And now that I see you with the
Yeah,
mask and in the airport, and
yeah,
also maybe you can
you know,
compare with how it was living here in Madrid. You know what I mean? To contrast between being here in Madrid in
yeah.
this
I
epicenter
mean,
now.
like what's the biggest contrast is that while we were there in Madrid, we were kind of able to perceive our world within our little bubble without this fear that's taken over the world, and focus on our reality. And then coming out now into this system where everything that we've been trying to do has been blocked with, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. Everything is just no. And everybody is just passing us from one person to the other to try to really, what it brought me down to is no, nobody else really cares what happens to to me at any point, and I just take my own responsibility for how I'm going to react to what's around me. So there's so many things, um, again, that we can learn and take in inside from what's happening on the outside. Choose what it is that how we're going to react. There's many people here screaming and shouting. We spent all night arguing with people. Well, other people did, and I was grateful that I had been in this environment in Madrid that allowed me to go, okay, I surrender. There's nothing I can do. I'm just going to sit here, live in the moment, and accept that whatever's happening on the outside world, I can take responsibility for how I react to it and how I feel inside. We're absolutely exhausted. Steve is here. I've asked him to come onto the broadcast, but he's actually feeling so exhausted that he's unable to even sit up. And we just have to deal with the situation. And this is the same whether we're in this lockdown situation or not. We just have to deal with the situation of the world that we're living in and create our own world within of how we're going to react to that. So, yeah, it's been very challenging, but all we can do is accept and surrender and see what happens next. Be open to the mystery of the next moment.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now that I think it's really, really connected with what we were sharing before about now you mentioned the fear and contrasting with the experience in here in this epicenter, in this community in Madrid. That actually, yeah, here it's quite. I don't want to use the word normal or abnormal or bubble but it's like here we are, yeah, and we're living from love. I mean, from trust, and
Yes.
and we're maintaining or feeding this energy or this, let's say, idea, and contrasting with this idea of fear that everything is dangerous, that the world is dangerous, that the other is dangerous, and we can also feed that idea, maintain that idea, and react from that idea, that thought. And that's what was coming to me at this point. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for sharing. Thank you very much also, Iris.
Thank you, all of you. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. Thank you. I wish I was there with you.
Enjoy this experience, this unknown experience, Rebecca, and also Iris. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And enjoy the temazcal.
What?
Oh, there we have our French background.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Yeah, basically continuing with the topic of the thoughts and these ideas. If Giovanni, if you think that it's possible, I would like to share the board. Is it possible? How many minutes we have? Okay. Okay. So we will just introduce 3 ideas that we were sharing with Alberto, and then we can close. Basically, that a thought. Maybe I can move here, right? Because we were sharing that a thought or an idea has three vortex, let's say, or three
Characteristics.
that sustain. One is an idea is a conclusion that we make about something, and that idea defines, classifies, or is also used to identify something and capture something in a way. Then this idea is something that doesn't want to change and is doing everything in order to be always the same. So that would be the third point. Wants to exist forever, to sustain, to maintain. These are the structures. Maybe we can also develop a bit more this idea in our next broadcast, next week. And I would like to invite you all.
Can I add something?
Yes, of course.
Like, as you can also see in the triangle, that in the heart of every thought is that it's about using the other one, the other person. It's about submission, about enslaving, dominating, and controlling the other person. The thought always has to do with that. And one thing Alberto also said yesterday that I really liked, that was either you think or you see. So if you think, you are not really able to see the other person because there's like a wall in between you and the other person. Yeah, that is something that really resonated with me. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. We were actually introducing this big concept of using others. That was, for me, was something beautiful. And Alberto, when we started with the idea, he said in Spanish, we were talking about this also before, that in Spanish is, tú no me interesas. It means, you don't interest me. And that may sound like I don't care about you, but that was not the idea. He's playing like a game with these words, saying like, you not, like, it's not about you, the character, the idea that I have about you, or the idea that you have about you. This is not something I care. It's something much more deeper that I'm interested in. So again, about, as you said, this wall, all these thoughts that I can have in between us that are not allowing us to connect, to really be in touch, and that's what was coming now that when you were saying it. So thoughts basically are, let's say, used to dominate, to use the other one, and this is something that we are going through and trying to observe.
Yes, exactly, because in many spiritual traditions or spiritual philosophies, it is about stopping to think, about getting rid of the thoughts, about making yourself completely thought free. But actually it is not about that, because the mind is like a thought making machine. It's like a computer who's processing all the time. You cannot make it stop. And so to saying actually it is about getting rid of that is not working, because there are being produced around 70,000 thoughts per hour, and if you want to make it stop, it's like it's not working and you're just suppressing again. So it's not about eliminating it, it's about coming into the place of observation so you can take a distance.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
take the power away from the thoughts.
Mm.
So not the thoughts have the power, but you.
Mm. Mhm. Yes, to recover that inner power. Let's say.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Katy,
Thank you.
for being here. Thank you, Giovanni, Christian, everyone there, Ciro, Iris, Rebecca. I just want to invite you in the broadcast for this afternoon. We're going to continue with the second um, class or workshop about uh, original wounds with Laura. Today we will introduce the first, let's say, original wound, which is rejection. It's gonna be also in English, and that would be great that you are there sharing with us also your comments, your opinion through the chat. So thank you very much, everyone,
Thank you.
and see you in the afternoon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.